What's worse than too much flange on your Vox?
The Gregory Brothers tell us on this episode of Worst Gig Ever.
Peace!
Evan, Andrew, Michelangelo, Sarah, Gregory Brothers, welcome to Worst Gig Ever.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Might I say that you all look scrumptious today?
Oh,
Beautiful.
makes me a little uncomfortable.
So look, let's just hit middle C. Give us a story right out the gates, a worst gig story.
Was that your main music reference?
The only one I can...
Wait for it to be repeated over and over again.
Is that a
back
thing?
to that
We're gonna go
middle
off the
C.
scale. First we'll start at middle C.
We would have known you were a real music savant if you'd asked for an A440, but asking for the middle
Clearly.
C, now we know you're just kind of grasping.
idiot,
at
so
straws.
You know the
what I
score
am.
now.
Yeah.
We thought we might tell a story from a gig we played several years ago at Wesleyan University. And the context for the whole thing is that we went on tour together as a band some years before we were ever doing web videos and all that sort of stuff. And so we toured in a minivan for several months without air conditioning, and
Yeah, we were touring by the seat of our pants. We're talking like it was 2 weeks before the tour started, and we were like, wait a minute, how are we gonna go anywhere?
I really think it was 2 days, actually.
Right.
And Evan was like,
You realize the
okay.
nuts and bolts haven't been
Yeah,
figured
we
out.
have to get from point A to point B.
Evan like bought a van on Craigslist from this shady guy. Like we like borrowed a PA from our dad who just had a PA for no apparent reason, and we were like, oh, we'll just borrow this, Dad, and gave it back to him like 4 years later after he'd bought another PA.
I would say that it's an apparent reason, though.
Oh, look at that.
Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, it's just a very fly by the seat of your pants tour. I mean,
Right.
But we ended up playing, I think it was 80 dates in, no, 50 dates in 80 days. So it was like a long
That's a serious...
thing.
Yeah.
That's intense.
And we managed to make a little bit of money, which we were very excited about. But I mean, we're talking about stringing along
Right.
gigs from bar to coffee shop to college.
You would book them all yourself, essentially.
yeah, we booked everything ourselves. We did everything. You know, we were the roadies and performers and all that. So, I mean, the only reason this whole thing worked is because we were just weighing on the good graces of all of our friends around the country, staying on their couches and
Right.
beds and stuff like. So that the expenses of the tour were very close to zero. That's the only reason that this whole thing worked. And we definitely shattered some relationships along the way by just like requiring of these friends that they spend all their energy and time like
It's gonna
supporting
happen
our
here
thing.
and there.
But it happened that we were at Wesleyan University and during the early part of the tour, and this was a case where Andrew used to teach songwriting as a job at this kind of like creative writing institute, and he taught all these high school students. And then some years later, they're all in college, so we were like, this is a great resource for our tour. We will call up these children that respect Andrew as an authority figure.
Right.
This is like exactly 3 years later. So all these people I had as like sophomores and juniors and seniors in high school are now like sophomores and juniors.
Right.
And because they're so into music, they're like locked into the music scene at their college.
It's like a Mr. Holland's Opus, kind of.
Yeah, if after Rowena escaped from the small town where Mr. Holland taught, went to college at NYU, and then he called her 3 years later and was like, hey, can I sleep on your couch while my band is playing in your dorm room, and I love you.
Oh.
Let's sing some Gershwin together.
Yeah, so, I mean, we played like maybe 8 of these college shows. Maybe 5 or 6 of these college shows where I would be friends with these, college students on Facebook. We'd friended each other when I was a songwriting teacher, and I just basically cold email them and be like, hey, I see you're at Oberlin now. Can we play at a reputable venue there? And they'd be like, no, but you could play in my room.
Right. Well, that's are you getting because I know when we were taught you bank on those college shows if they're going through the college entertainment
Because that'll fund
Yeah. Some of them were
weeks of the
great.
Yeah.
Some of them
it's
were
like
really
we
they
don't
had,
care. We'll give you lots of fun.
Yeah, and they had like the college hotel set
Right.
up. They have delicious cafeterias.
Right.
So they were like our poshest gigs.
Okay.
The bananas in the cafeteria were an acceptable ripeness.
Yeah. Which
You-
is
Not
tricky,
too green,
you
not
know?
too yellow.
You just play one of those college shows to finance the next 3 shows you're playing that are paying you $50 a piece.
Yes.
And we started doing this thing where any college we played at that had squash courts, for some reason we'd walk to the squash courts and be like, hey, we are playing a show later tonight. It's in our rider. We didn't have a rider.
Right.
It's in our rider that we can use the squash courts here on campus, and we just play squash for like 2 hours.
What a weird rider request. That
Having
would be.
had this like luxurious experience at several other colleges where
Right.
it's like we're gonna make money, we're gonna be able to do whatever we want. That's the attitude we walked in with when we arrived at Wesleyan. Come to find out that we were basically just staying in like an off-campus kind of frat house, the kind that gets reused as college housing year
Right.
over year with various students and transients.
Right, right.
Friends of students, that kind of thing. So we kind of walked in with all of our gear, and it immediately had our kind of expectations reset. When it was the type of environment in this house where you would sit on a couch, and you would feel the kind of collected moisture of 800 bottoms still present in the furniture with you.
Right.
That was like a Charles Dickens quote right
was
there, I gotta say. The funk of 800 bottoms.
Disgusting sound.
So, yeah.
Right.
So we start to set up for our gig, which is just taking place basically in the same room as we're
Right.
sleeping in.
Move the moisture couch out of the way.
That's right. Shove it to the other side of the room, and we start to plug in our gear. Our PA that Andrew mentioned was their father's, and we're sound checking, and suddenly Andrew jumps back from his microphone.
Because he had been violently electrocuted.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was, just
Wait, the wiring wasn't right in that place?
No.
That seems odd.
I know.
No,
Shocking.
I had been electrocuted by my microphone. We're big believers in the idea that when you're performing, you should really have your mouth right
course.
on
Right.
the mic. And I, at the time, I think I already had a beard. I think I just got my beard on the mic, and it shocked me through my beard. And there's this weird
beard
thing.
saved you.
If you've ever been shocked by a microphone, there's this weird thing that happens because the first time you get shocked, it's just like the slightest of shocks because it's
Right.
right when you
Yeah.
put your lips on
Right.
the mouth. And then it's like telling someone to like smell something that smells bad.
Yeah.
Your very first reaction is like, did I just get electrocuted by this mic? Better find out.
Sucking on this mic again.
And then you put your lips right on it. And that one, the shock is always way bigger.
Yeah, right.
Because you're like trying to put your mouth on the microphone.
You got more moisture in there.
Yeah.
Water's conducting electricity.
Yeah, I don't think you guys were getting shocked though. I think it had something to do with my amplifier for the
You were
guitar.
holding a guitar that's connected to the amplifier. Andrew was completing the circuit with his beard.
Right. Right.
And again, shockingly, there was
shock.
no, like sound guy who we could call, no like house
Right.
electrician or super. So
It should be noted that Andrew did not die. Although people
Right.
do argue about the meaning of the word electrocute.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
So what
made it
happens
through.
when it's time for the show to begin?
So it's time for the show to begin, and amazingly, a ton of people come out. It was awesome.
As expected.
There's a keg. Everyone's
had
very
faith
excited
and
about
it
the
worked
keg.
out.
They were loving it.
And I
it
just had
was-
to be very careful to be off the mic because we never fixed the microphone. I was just like, if I touch it again, I'm going to be electrocuted, which happened 2 or 3 more times.
Right.
They were voracious though, and they were crowding us further and further into our little electrocution chamber. So it was very difficult for Andrew to not electrocute himself.
No,
for the third time.
periodically during a song, Andrew would just be singing the lead vocal and interrupt himself with "Ah!"
So the
So the gig
sky's
goes
the
great.
limit.
The gig goes great.
Yeah.
It's all going well. We finished the gig, and then even like the guy running the gig or whatever was like, "Man, you guys did great. This was such a success. People even stayed after the keg was done."
Huge compliment.
So
Couldn't be a
Exactly,
better
yeah.
compliment.
So I think
Standards.
you and I were out on the porch. So it was a very nice September night. You and I were out on the porch, and we ended up talking for a while to one of the ladies who we'd met out on the quad. And I don't know, after we've been talking 20 or 30 minutes, she said, "Oh, well, pretty soon I think I'm going to go home. Actually, my roommate's out of town, and so I have an extra bed if either of you guys need a place to sleep."
Hello.
Could not be a more direct come on.
Right.
Ticket to Hollywood right there.
Ticket
Yeah,
to
that's
Hollywood.
And right then, bam, like lightning, Sarah was in. And she was like, "That'd be great."
Oh, shit, move.
I literally had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
I-
Just beds, those sound great.
I was like, that is the miracle I've been praying for since we showed up 24 hours earlier. I'm definitely taking that clean bed. Well, I did. I took it. I felt great about it. I was like, come on, hurry up, let's go. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I'm going to bed, and I think I get a text from Evan or something that was like, "Nice cock block." And it
Calling it like he sees it.
It all came into focus,
Right.
and I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to make amends, weirdly, the next morning by inviting this young lady to have breakfast with us.
Adding insult to injury right here.
Just push his face in it.
Really the worst part of the whole thing
Yeah, all terrible.
is that Sarah came over, Evan I think was cooking eggs in the kitchen, and Sarah said like, "Oh my gosh, Andrew, I'm so sorry about last night, but don't worry. I invited her over to have brunch with us."
Because the part you like the most is the awkward breakfast in the morning. Enjoy.
And she showed up and just sat down and had breakfast with all 4 of us.
And I recommended a nice flea market that you guys could go walk
God, the
to.
story
She
is-
made us go to a flea market. So I just skipped the making out and then instead literally had brunch with her the next day and then was like
With your
shoved out the
family.
door by Sarah to go like walk around a flea market in a church parking lot.
I felt terrible, so I set you up with a long weekend in Amish country with her. Just enjoy.
And then you broke up with her at the end of the night. That was
Yeah,
it.
actually,
This isn't working.
I was just like, well, I got to get back in the van. We're traveling down to Swarthmore tonight to play another college gig. I got
should've-
some great couches down there.
should've
I know a window
suggested-
that's unlocked.
I should have suggested you needed a place to take a nap or something. Then her roommate still would have been out of town.
You did enough.
I really did. I was so ashamed, and I think for the rest of the tour, I basically was just trying to like play matchmaker for you guys, just in recompense.
And that's the story of how Sarah cockblocked Andrew.
Wow,
It's
that's
the worst
great.
gig ever.
Kudos to Cockblock.
I'm so ashamed.
So, Gregory Brothers, you guys love your job now, but you got any jobs that you hate from the past?
I'll go. For a summer, I was a vacuum cleaner salesman, trying to make some money during the summer months, and ended up. I haven't-
Is summer like the high season for vacuum
It
sales?
sounds like the right
yes.
time to be in that market.
Vacuums
Yes,
came rolling
absolutely.
in.
Yeah.
And you've been tricked, right? Because the ad in the paper just said mysteriously that you were selling home improvement systems.
Oh yeah, even the hiring processes concealed what the job was because, I mean, there is no bad job cliche greater in some circles than vacuum cleaner salesman.
Right.
Like sounds like something from a movie from the 50s or something. So they would never even say that in the ad. So I got there and kind of realized what was going on, but my attitude was basically like, hey,
I'm here.
I'm here, you know. So just ended up doing it, and then each day would commence with a kind of morning meeting where all the, you know, a dozen salesmen or something, and you go out in cars to go like canvass different areas. But at the beginning of the day, you basically get a pep talk
Right.
from this loony who's like the office boss. He's not selling. He just kind of telling you to like go.
Right.
He's the Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross,
Absolutely.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Or just the guy one level up in the pyramid scheme of selling vacuum cleaners door to door.
Totally, absolutely was a pyramid scheme in the sense like he's getting a percentage of everything we do, and he used to do what we did, and now all he does is run the morning meetings. So I assumed it was going to be like just a pep talk, and I walked in, and it commenced with Scott, the boss, walking to the front of the room. He's a very round man with a round bald head, and he wordlessly turned to the whole group and just started clapping. Immediately, mind you, I don't know what to do, and so I didn't do anything except observe all of these crusty men around me immediately begin clapping in unison. in some like bizarre like tribal ritual, and I like could not stop grinning. I kind of hid so that I didn't look like such an ass as I actually looked. Anyway, then they burst into unintelligible song
No.
immediately in unison, and it went like. For probably like 60 seconds or so.
Right.
It took me several weeks to figure out that what they were singing was "Hail, hail, the gang's all here" with words tailored to like vacuum cleaner business type stuff.
Right. Like the word vacuum.
Yeah, I got like super into it once I found out what it was because it was just so weird. What was this ritual that we were doing that was supposed to be a pump-up routine? Meanwhile, the actual job itself was the pits.
Right.
Our first, like my first morning, I got in this crusty old station wagon and got made fun of immediately for putting on my seatbelt. What? Oh, you put on your seatbelt? You must have heard about how Dallas drives. We got in the head-on collision at 4 p.m. 7 hours later.
Dallas
after just careening down mountain roads.
No.
Really?
The names
Yeah.
of your two work coworkers were like Dallas and Blue, right?
Yes. Dallas, Blue, and Jordan were in the car with me that day.
Those are characters you make up for a script.
And we pulled around a curve and slammed straight into a Dodge Neon, which is like made out of plastic and crumpled to bits. Fortunately, no one was hurt. I was just grateful because work was over for the day. I was like, going home.
Sure.
Dallas claimed that he was distracted while driving by an antique vacuum cleaner on the front porch of a house we were passing.
That mythical antique.
What have we been looking
The Loch Ness monster.
It wasn't my fault. Did you see that thing?
That's before all the regulations came in the 60s when a vacuum cleaner could really
Actually blew out asbestos. Wow.
You remember that, Blue? Oh, I remember.
So guys, why don't you tune down to drop D and throw us another worst gig. Music.
One of our worst gigs was actually in Cleveland, Ohio. It was on that same tour that we had the Wesleyan gig. And the first thing we had to do before we played the gig was move our friend out of his apartment because he was getting divorced. So that already put a damper on all of our moves.
He had said we could stay at his place, but then he was like, hey, now that you're here, could you help us? I mean, could you help me?
He got a Vinny van.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we were actually that night playing after a comedy show.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Well, it ended up being the saddest night of comedy ever. And I think the guy that led the night off, he was joking about his girlfriend's vagina and how it smelled. And
I like where it's
all
going.
of a sudden, this girl standing right next to us just got like felt really tense, and she just like stormed out of the room. And we were like, oh, wait a minute. That was his girlfriend.
He was sitting right in the front row.
And
he was doing like a whole bit about like, and vaginas, they smell like fish.
Am I right?
But it was
What's
very
the deal?
specific. It wasn't just a general thing. It was very specific about her.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what made it even worse for her. It wasn't just like women, right? It was just like.
And I think she was sitting in the front row because she was kind enough to be filming his whole set for him. So she just left the camera on the tripod and got out of there.
Just fish comment after fish comment, at least make up something more original.
He had a tight 5 about fish vaginas.
So you have to follow this.
We have to follow that. It kind of put a damper on the whole evening, and we couldn't really adjust our material.
Right.
Like, all
Not
right, guys,
working any vaginas.
we got a special set for this.
Guys, a question that we ask all of our guests. What do you think of the word gig?
I think it should be short for something, but it's not.
That's a great point. Like it's short for Guggenheim.
Yeah, or like
gigabytes.
gigandize. You know,
Gigabytes.
like
The gigabytes.
I feel like the sister word for gig is merch, but
Yeah,
Totally.
I've never thought about whether I like the word gig because I'm so super focused on how much I hate the word merch.
Right.
Like, is there a worse word? Like, is there a worse thing to say? Like, after the show, we'll just be hanging out at the merch table.
Got a lot of merch for you.
At
go
the
see our
merch
merch
Swing
table.
by
babes.
the merch table.
Yeah.
We got a merch girl over at the merch table.
But how do you get around it?
you just say merchandise or stuff for
Merchandise
sale.
feels so stuffy.
Shirts and CDs.
Stuff for sale.
Yeah, we got stuff for sale.
You just want to buy my CD?
Right.
Got crafts on the table
Right.
over there.
It's the worst merch.
Yeah.
So merch, worse than gig. So this is a segment we call Do Your Best with Our Worst. We've got a amazing backpacker guitar. We've got a synthesizer from 1987. Do you guys care to
Regale us, perhaps.
regale us with a tune?
I like the way this sounds.
We'll do our best.
All right.
do it.
Let's do it.
grab your mug. Or not.
And now the Gregory Brothers with Hand Me Down My Walking Cane.
1, 2, 3.
Hand me down my walking cane. Hand me down my walking cane. Oh, hand me down my walking cane. 'Cause bound to leave on the midnight train, and all of my sins are taken away. Hand me down my bottle of corn. Hand me down my bottle of corn. Oh, hand me down my bottle of corn. 'Cause I'm gonna leave drunk just as sure as you're born, and all of my sins are taken away.
Take a little break, guys. All right.
Get it now.
Hand me down my mandolin. Hand me down my mandolin. Oh, hand me down my mandolin. 'Cause I'm crossing over to see my kin, and all of my sins are taken away.
So Evan, Andrew, Michael, Sarah, you guys have been some of the worst guests that we've had so far. So we just want to present you with this special Worst Gig Ever statuette. Jeff, may I have the statuette, please? I don't know if you guys want to pass that around.
You guys. Well, you know, we appreciate you
Yeah.
and all you do.
I mean, you had all these amazing stories, and while you're passing that around, I mean, hopefully there are going to be more amazing stories to come, more worst gigs to come. What do you guys have coming up?
We have a couple of gigs. Hopefully they're not in the worst category. Just check our website for the dates and information.
Love it. So I know that you guys got a lot of stuff going on. You're always doing something. You're always into something. From Jeff and I, we just want you guys to get home safe. Next week on Worst Gig Ever. That sounds delicious.
So what's your favorite baba ganoush recipe? Well,
As always, thank you guys for watching. You want more worst gigs? Click on us. Subscribe.
Or if you want some audio versions, go check out our podcast and subscribe. Thank you.